Well, bees are fantastic pollinators of all of our plants, but we may not really think about what we can do to protect the bees. So I'm talking with Elisa Huntsman, one of our Davidson County Master Gardeners, about her beekeeping. And how long have you been keeping bees?
About 3 years, right out here on the front yard. It's a little space that we don't use much. Gets the right sun exposure, so we just plop them down right here out front where everybody can see them.
Well, it's fun to watch them.
It is.
But I know that one reason to do this is, of course, liking the honey, but there's an even more important reason, isn't there?
It's the decline of the population. Bees have been dying off. They aren't quite sure why. They have some suspicions, some evidence, but no clear path saying this is exactly why. Colony collapse disorder has become so prevalent in bees. Many beekeepers are losing, the larger beekeepers that do it for a business. Some of them have lost 30, 40, 50% of their hives. That's a lot of bees. And hobbyists are beginning to step in and bring back some of the bees. The feral bee population has really crashed. There's not very many feral bees. The majority of the bees that you find these days are being kept by someone, whether they're commercial or a hobbyist like myself. So you have to give them a good environment to live in. One of those being, it has to be clean. It has to be the proper equipment, whether it's a top bar hive or like we have the traditional hives. That's, preference, but it has to be appropriate inside. And then you have to give them space where they're not constantly being interrupted or disturbed. And they have to have a food source. And that's something funny about bees is you think, well, I'm going to plant all these things around my yard. They can fly 2 miles. They can fly 8 miles. It's been proven they've flown, I think, as far as 8 miles in search of a specific nectar or pollen that they want. So you have to have a lot of things in your neighborhood, not just you, but you want to be in a safe area where there's a lot of good things for them to choose from. And then, of course, you have to be able to recognize some of the things that are harmful to them, and that's a lot of the different pests. Mites are a huge problem. Pesticides, fungicides, you don't want to be using any of that around your bees. But if your neighbors are, or if you're located near commercial areas where they're using that can all be a factor. All these things can lead to whether or not they'll survive.
Well, and there are some important things I understand you have to do. I understand that you actually have to register your hive, and why is that?
In the state of Tennessee, you are required to register your hive with the state apiarist. And that is because there are things like foul brood that they have to be keeping track of. They do inspect the hives. They come out every so often and they look over your bees, and they will open up, go through the frames to make sure that you don't have something like foul brood is so threatening to the bee population that they'll kill the hive. They'll burn your equipment and they'll kill the hive because it is so contagious. Other things, they can help you learn, show you techniques to control them, like wax moths or the different small hive beetles. You can learn how to control them. Being that we are so global these days, we bring seeds and plants from all parts of the world here. Well, we need pollinators. The almond crop is a perfect example. Without the bees, you'd have no almonds. So you have to have those bees in around your crops in order to pollinate.
Well, they're so important to us. Now, I don't have bees myself, but I do see honeybees, so I must be doing something to encourage them. What are some of the things we can all do to encourage bees?
Well, one of the easiest things you can do is put herbs in your garden. They love herbs. They love oregano, basil, thyme, lavender, rosemary, mint. All of those plants, they will bloom throughout the summer, and they'll go to it all the time. You'll find them out there collecting, the different nectars and pollens. The other thing too is, if you look at my lawn, it's not much you'd never see this on a golf course, but there's things in here like clover, the red dead nettle, the henbit, chickweed. We let it go in here because they will go to that in the winter months. When there's nothing else out there in February, they'll be gathering from the lawn, and we let them have it. And holly trees, they love holly trees, and they will go and they will gather nectar from holly trees. So having a different variety of plants available at all times that are going to be flowering throughout the year will help them, because what people don't realize is if it's 40 degrees or above, bees are out and they're foraging. When you use those herbicides on your lawn, you remove a food source for the bees. It's really, these are, as they will tell you, those are our native perennials. Those plants, we call them weeds, but a weed really is a plant you don't want growing. It doesn't mean it's a bad plant. Sometimes they can be invasive if they're non-native, but those are our native perennials. So when you remove them, you remove an important part of the ecosystem, not just for bees, but for all of the other insects that might visit those plants or use them for a food source or for a living space. You're removing their habitat.
Well, Elisa, thank you so much for sharing your hive with us today and telling us about some of the things that we need to know about bees. So when you are thinking about bees, think about what you can do in your own lawn. Grow those small flowers, enjoy those herbs, and know you're helping out the bees. Be careful with your use of pesticides as always.
For inspiring garden tours, growing tips, and garden projects, visit our website at volunteergardener.org or on YouTube at the Volunteer Gardener channel, and like us on Facebook.